something that I've been, I guess, I want to say that it's been bothersome, but then at the same time, the Grimoire doesn't really give us that much information about Zovaal.
No.
But if he was the original Arbiter, right, as they say he was, they do, however, say that he wasn't always as magnanimous and as forgiving as the new Arbiter. But it also doesn't state that he was always corrupt, right? Or that he was always sort of a bad Arbiter. It just says that he was less. What's the exact word they use again?
I can't remember the exact wording, but basically it amounted to him being less merciful. Yeah,
benevolent. But it just says he wasn't always as benevolent, right? And so he couldn't have been the original Darkness either, could he? I mean, if he was made the Arbiter, could he have been the original Darkness?
I think yes, because this is the timeline issue, right? We actually don't know when Zovaal was banished, was changed from the Arbiter. So it could very much be that once he was betrayed, or even in the fighting of his betrayal, he wounded Anshe.
That is possible. It's very... I get so fucking frustrated with the story of Zovaal because I'm trying to make sense of his story, because if I can make sense of his story, I can sort of work from there. But it's so broken, it's so fractured, and the Grimoire doesn't give us it doesn't give us enough information on him, considering the fact that his name, they literally borrowed Harry Potter. And just when he who must not be named, like the brokers and the attendants of Erebos will not say his name because his name seems to invoke some dark power, right? His name literally invokes some kind of dark power. Now, they don't actually explain whether this is real, right? So they don't actually say his name will literally invoke some kind of dark power. It's just that they believe it. So we don't know if this is similar to He Who Must Not Be Named, Voldemort, from Harry Potter, where his name doesn't actually do anything. People are just sort of fucking scared.
At least not until the last book, anyway. But, okay, let me hear you with this, right? So, the Naru need faith. They need people to worship them for them to have power, right? This is an established thing. Same with Loa, same with Wild Gods. Same partially even with the Titans and the Keepers. They don't do anything unless they're being worshipped by lesser species. Is Zovaal the same? And the other Eternal Ones knew this. And so removing his name is removing that worship.
It's possible. I mean, I would find it cooler if his name literally did invoke some kind of dark power. That would be cooler. Right? But it could just be that it's denying him the worship that he seeks, or denying him the power that he gets from people using his name, or from people worshipping him. And then through removing his name, you are removing the ability for him to be worshipped. Because who the fuck are you worshipping if you don't know the name of the person that you're worshipping? A hooded figure.
But now let me hit you with what I reckon WoW will actually probably do with it.
Okay, all yours.
Zavaal's name is the password to the Sepulchre. Remove it from memory, people won't know how to access it. Easy.
I mean, it would make sense. The first ones did put him in charge of judging all souls, so at some point he must have been... Look, this was before Shadowlands even came out. We made videos on Zovaal's linking or links to Lucifer, right? Specifically in Hollywood Christianity. So not Christianity as you would find it Sundays in church. Christianity as you would find it in Hollywood movies, right? Which means a more fantastical version of Christianity. His story is basically a 1v1 at this point of that, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And so Zovaal being the Primus suggests that we were correct in him being the favored son. Right? He was the favorite son of the first ones. They trusted him so much that they put him in charge of the Shadowlands, and I actually had someone in a comment section on my video about this go, just because he controls the souls doesn't mean he was in charge. And I'm like, then who the fuck is in charge? So you're saying the Primus is in charge, but he only gets the souls that Zovaal decides upon.
The Arbiter, yeah.
Like,
if you sat at the head of the table, you're the head of the fucking table. Like.
Yeah, you're the boss, right? So it means that he is the favorite. He was the, at least for
chosen
a while, right? He was considered to be the main Mac of the Shadowlands and of the first ones. I still don't exactly know how his fall came to be, which is perhaps my biggest issue with this entire storyline, is how did he come to fall? Because we know how Sargeras falls, right? That makes 100% sense. How does Sargeras fall? Easy. The Nathrezim lied to him, and oh my god, I'm getting triggered by the comments on that video too, where someone said no, Sargeras didn't fall because of the Nathrezim. Sargeras didn't fall because of Zovaal. Sargeras fell because of the Nathrezim. And I'm like, I wonder who sent them.
Right.
Right? I wonder who sent them. They are servants. They're not, they don't act alone. They act only on the word of the Nathrius. And it seems like the Nathrius only acts on the word of Sargeras, of Zovaal. And therefore, it would have come from the Nathrezim, from the Nathrius, from Zovaal. And that's how Sargeras lost his way. But how did Zovaal lose his way?
So, for me, like we've spoken about this previously before, and I genuinely think it's a case of external comes in, tries to change the status quo, and Zovaal went, "You're not taking my seat, bro." And the rest of the Eternal ones were like, "Hey, we get a promotion. Fuck him. Send our brother off." And that's where the betrayal comes in.
But who is the external? The first ones?
Yes. To TLDR it, yeah. The first ones are the external. I'm still of the opinion that the first ones are the Titans, and Danusa just lied when he said they weren't the same, because it wouldn't be the first time they've lied.
Wait, you're of the opinion? Say again. You're of the opinion of what?
First ones are the Titans themselves.
I'm a little triggered. Continue.
I know you're triggered.
Actually, I'm very triggered. Continue. What? I mean, oh my fuck. If that is where the story is going, I am writing a very angry letter. Like, the first ones cannot be the Titans. That would be like, okay, so first and foremost, he is called Titan++. So the first ones created a more powerful being than they are.
No. First one's ordered a more powerful being.
I don't know.
Because it's the same thing to Titans.
Yeah, I realize it's the ordered and created is the same for them. But even then, would they even fucking do that? They wouldn't.
Yes.
They would have killed him immediately.
Would they, though? Because they didn't kill the old gods. When we know now that they could have done, even without tearing them out of the planet. We know now they could have done, because the Heart of Azeroth did it and the Forges were already there. So the Titans lied about their capabilities and their agenda. They kept things to be able to experiment on them. I mean, just look at Elune. Why is she now with the Titans?
Yeah, I still think Elune is... Like, this is 100% the Primus lies. Elune is not the opposite of the Winter Queen. But that does not mean that the Titans are the first ones. That would be just a fucking miserable story. That would be 100%. Such a horrible story.
I agree with you. It's dumb as fuck. But I genuinely think this is where they're going with it, because just look at Oribos, look at Korthia. How Titan-esque is that shit? Like 100%, it looks like a rip-off of all the other Titan stuff we've seen.
Yeah.
Look at the first one tech, the Guardians of the First Ones. We actually see them in the Tomb of Sargeras, by the way. The same things, the light defense matrix.
I'm aware.
Outside the Avatar room, you've got the light defense matrices. There's the mobs in the way. Those are the same things as the Guardians of the first ones fight. The light crystal orb things. So, I mean, we've spoken about the mirrors before. They are the other side. They are the pantheons. There's only 2, not 6.
Yeah, but you see, this is where I sort of immediately go, it's far more believable for me that the Titans and the Eternal Ones are the same. They come from the same origin, maybe even the same species. And that's why Erebos looks very similar to Titan buildings and Titan architecture, because they come from the same place, right?
But Eternal One architecture doesn't look the same as what we're seeing in Erebos and with the Titans.
No,
the
but
Eternal One architecture is more like Revendreth.
Yeah, but Eternal One architecture is their individual zones look different. But Erebos could absolutely have been built by them to look like the Titan thing, and their zones were more thematic. Right? This is where they stamped their own claim on their zone, right? I just don't like the idea of the Titans being the first ones. I cannot accept it.
I don't think it's a good story either, but I do think that is exactly where they're going. The Titans are the first ones, because they're only called the first ones in the Shadowlands, right? We've never heard of the first ones anywhere else, except for the Shadowlands. First ones from outside the Shadowlands would be the Titans.
Yeah, but we did hear about the first ones in interviews before the Shadowlands even.
And those interviews are done with their knowledge 2 years ahead, which would be about now.
Oh my god, I would be so fucking pissed off. I would be so triggered. So triggered. You see, there's so many reasons why the first ones cannot be, because we have the arguments from Blizzard themselves that the first ones are just under the Clockmaker, right? So there's first ones of the universe, and then there's Clockmakers. The Titans themselves cannot be the first ones, because they themselves are not even equally old. Aman'Thul was born first. He was first, and then he oversaw the birth of the others. So,
yes, but they still existed, right? Just because they were in hibernation and hadn't fully matured doesn't mean they weren't there since the beginning at the same time. We know from Xal'atath, at least, that they witnessed the previous cycle altogether.
I think we'll leave that conversation right there, because I can feel myself getting triggered the whole fucking time we're talking about it. Like, every single time I think of the Titans being the first ones, I get fucking triggered.
It's another one of those theories where there's too much of it that lines up and sounds right, but you know it should be wrong. And that's the problem, is that you know this is wrong, and you know it's stupid, but there's too much that makes sense for Blizzard not to ignore it.